Hello and welcome back to the Hazzabhajan YouTube channel. It is Harry here, and today it is time for another installment in my Nation Roulette series. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but finally I'm bringing it back. I love doing these videos, and today it is the turn of Tajikistan to be profiled. For those of you who are new to the channel and or haven't seen a Nation Roulette episode just yet, this is a series where I take a look at football in various countries across the globe, profiling the sport historically within a particular country and of course its current day state. And if that entices you to go and watch more of this series, I have made a playlist dedicated to every single video that I've done in this series. I've covered the likes of India, Tuvalu, Greenland, Central African Republic, Colombia, and about 13 or 14 others I think, but there is a playlist link with all of those videos in it in the description down below. Whilst you're in the description, please don't forget to hit the like button if you go on to enjoy this video, as it really does help me out and help my channel to grow. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and ring the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a video straight away. But before you do all that, or actually you can do that now or beforehand, but you know, it's your choice, I don't control you, let's explore the footballing scene in Tajikistan. Tajikistan is a landlocked Central Asian country which borders China, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan, and covers around 143,000 square kilometers of land, with a population of just over 9.5 million people as of 2020. It is an extremely high country, and no, not in the context of drug taking, please don't take that euphemistically, but instead, about half of the country is located over 3,000 meters above sea level, and 90% of the country's land is considered mountainous. The region was controlled by the likes of Persia and Alexander the Great during the first few centuries of the AD era, but after being ruled over by an Iranian dynasty for a while, they were a part of the Emirate of Bukhara until the 18th century. After that rule came to an end, they remained independent until Russia took control in the 1860s, and as Russian influence had not ceased by the time the USSR was established in the late 1910s and early 1920s, Tajikistan formed a part of the new republic, but they were finally able to break free upon the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991. However, it didn't equate to happier times for the Tajik people, as they found themselves embroiled in a 5-year-long civil war from 1992 until 1997, and as many as 100,000 people were either killed or injured, with 1.2 million others being displaced. Nowadays, the nation is one of the most secretive and repressive on earth, with little information about it spread to the wider world, although no way near to the extent of North Korea. The president, Emomali Rahmon, has won 5 uncontested elections after he essentially cracked down heavily on political opponents and journalists who dared to go against him, and the country is ranked as one of the least free and most authoritarian regions on earth, despite Rahmon claiming otherwise, as he probably would, to be fair. What keeps the country united in times of great oppression and authoritarianism is sport, and more specifically, football, although for reasons we will get onto later, it is a bit less of a uniting force than it was before. Football is the most popular sport in the country, but national sports such as Giri, which is similar to wrestling, and Chabkombozi, another form of polo, do give it some competition. It was first introduced to the region in the 1920s, possibly as a result of the Russian influence over the country, and a football federation was set up in 1936, although as the country was a part of the Soviet Union by this stage, it became a regionalised FA under the Soviet Umbrella Association. The very next year, the first ever Tajik league was held, with Dinamo Stalinabad becoming the inaugural champions, although the next time the league was held was some 11 years later in 1948, possibly as a result of some minor conflict called World War II or something like that. The year before, Dinamo had become the first Tajik team to compete in the Soviet First League, which was the second tier of Soviet football, and after losing just 3 times in 28 games, they won their group to progress to the final round, but they lost to Lokomotiv Moscow in what would prove to be their best chance to compete in the Soviet top league. It would take another 42 years before a Tajik team actually competed in the top tier, when Pamir Dushanbe, who are run by the Tajik army, took part in the last 3 seasons of Soviet top flight football before the region collapsed, with their best finish in that time being 10th. Upon the USSR's dissolution, the Tajik FA was now recognised as an independent body, meaning that it could officially apply for membership to both FIFA and the AFC, which they did in 1994. The men's national team's first match came 2 years prior, when they drew 2-2 with neighbours Uzbekistan in Dushanbe, and the first tournament they entered was the 1996 Asian Cup. They were put into a 3-team qualification group with Uzbekistan and Bahrain, but after the latter withdrew, it became a 2-legged affair between the two Central Asian nations to progress through to the finals. After winning the first game 4-0, Tajikistan seemingly had one foot in the tournament, but somehow they managed to completely PSG it by being thrashed 5-0 in the return leg, which sent the Uzbeks through at Tajikistan's expense. However, in spite of football's continued popularity, there hasn't really been much of an investment in the game, and it took until 2015 for a national team match to actually be broadcast on national television, with money provided by FIFA allowing this to happen. 2 years later, the country finally set up a women's football team, whose first game was a 1-0 win over Iraq, but they are yet to qualify for a major tournament, lost 16-0 in 2 games within the space of just 3 days, and find themselves in 135th in the FIFA World Rankings, sandwiched in between St. Kitts and Nevis and American Samoa. Having said that, money provided by FIFA has gone towards improving football facilities and training for female footballers through the staging of mini-tournaments open to girls aged between 6 to 12 from all across the region. Football has also been an important tool for politicians to stamp their own authority on things, but as you may expect, it hasn't exactly been for the good of the game, with a greater focus on it being for the good of the politicians themselves. In 2008, Rustam Emomali, the president's son, founded his own team by the name of Istiklal and insisted that he became the team's main man up front and their captain. Regrettably, I couldn't find out how well he personally did in terms of stats and goals scored and the like, although he was a player at the club when Istiklal won their first Tajik Higher League title, the replacement for the Soviet-era league, in 2010. He retired a year later to become the head of the Tajik Football Federation, a role which he maintains to this day, as well as becoming a part of FIFA's Development Committee and the state's anti-corruption agency, a role which he was given by his father. If the last bit of that previous sentence sounds ironic, then it may seem even more ironic that Istiklal have been accused, and quite rightly so, of corrupting the league in their favour. Instances that stand out include when the team were awarded a very late and dubious winner against Ravshankulo, their fiercest rivals, leading to fans attacking the referee and the police, tear gas being thrown, and 40 arrests being made. And when the same team beat them 4 years later, the referee brandished multiple cards to Kulob players for seemingly no reason, so that they would be suspended for future games. So much for Ramon being a part of the anti-corruption team. Emomali's influence over the game has essentially led to Istiklal controlling the league completely since their maiden top flight campaign in 2010, which of course they won, and 7 of the team's players recently made the Tajikistan national team's latest squad, with as many as 10 featuring in a single squad at some stage in the past. They have never managed to make it to a World Cup in their history, and they haven't even made it to the final round of Asian qualifying either. They came close during the qualifiers for the 1998 World Cup in France, but they ultimately finished 3 points behind group leaders China and subsequently missed out. They are also eliminated from the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, but they were extremely unlucky to miss out on the final round of qualifiers, as although they came in second place in their group behind runaway leaders Japan, they were the 6th best second place team in Asian qualification, with the top 5 making it to the next round, and they only finished behind 5th place Lebanon on goal difference. A loss to Mino's Myanmar came back to haunt them dearly. They've also never participated in an AFC Cup tournament, with their best attempt, barring in 1996, coming in 2004, as they missed out on the tournament by just 1 point behind group runners-up Thailand. They are still in the hunt to make it to the 2023 edition in China, although in fairness, it is actually impossible to be eliminated from the AFC Asian Cup before the 3rd and final round, which hasn't been played yet, so it's not really too much of a feat, but hey, at least they still have a shot for now. They did, however, win the very first AFC Challenge Cup, a tournament for aspiring Asian nations, in 2006, triumphing 4-0 over Sri Lanka in the final, although after losing to India in 2008, their showings at the tournament have got steadily worse, finishing in 3rd in 2010, failing to make it out of the group stages in 2012, and not even making the competition at all in 2014. Perhaps unsurprisingly, given their short existence in comparison with many other nations affiliated to FIFA, their most capped player has only won 69 caps to date, namely Devron Ergashev, and their record goalscorer, Manuchakur Shaililov, has found the back of the net just 19 times. They've never cracked the top 100 of FIFA's world rankings, sitting in 115th at the moment, 9 places shy from their all-time high of 106th in July 2013, but some 65 places away from their nadir of 180th at 2 stages in 2003. They do actually hold a special distinction in this series, I think I'm right in saying, as being the first national team to have their record win being double the margin of their record defeat, as although they were thrashed 8-0 by Japan in 2011, they pummeled Minnows Guam 16-0 in 2000. Now we move on to a brief discussion about the country's football league, which was formally established in 1992 after their secession from the USSR. The 10-team league, which originally started with just 8, sees only one of those 10 teams qualify for the AFC Champions League, and only one more for the AFC Cup, albeit alongside the Nations Cup winners, as a result of their coefficient ranking, and 2 teams are relegated each year. As mentioned, there was a regional league during the Soviet era, which formed a part of the Soviet league system as one of the regional leagues, but that was abandoned in 1991. Since the Independent League was created, 8 clubs have won it in all, and during the 1990s, 5 separate teams would triumph, before the rise of 2 separate hegemonic forces in Tajik football made the league rather more tedious and predictable. Regartad AZ Tursun Zoda, I think that's the right pronunciation, it probably isn't, won 7 times during the 2000s, but ever since 2010, the aforementioned Istiklal have literally controlled the league, with 10 triumphs in all. That includes this current campaign, which only has 1 game left to go as of the time of this recording, as they find themselves 10 points ahead of second place Kujand, having scored 76 goals and only conceded 8 in their 26 games thus far, of which they have lost just 1. Both Istiklal and Regard are ahead when it comes to the most successful teams in the Tajikistan Cup as well, with the former having won 8 and the latter 6. You may recall that the Tajikistan Higher League was one of the very few across the world that continued on past March 2020, when the COVID-19 epidemic became a full-on pandemic, as it didn't record its first case until the following month, when the league was subsequently suspended until June. That saw the league campaign reduced to 18 games as opposed to the traditional 27 games, but for a while, the Tajik Higher League was one of only 2 or 3 I think across the entire world to still be running as normal, albeit behind closed doors. The league does remain one of the lowest ranked in Asia in terms of its coefficient though, and a team from the country didn't even so much compete in the AFC Champions League until 2019. I'll let you guess which one that might have been. And that just about wraps up today's video looking at football in Tajikistan. If you enjoyed it, of course, hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't done so already, and ring the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a video straight away. Plus you can check out any of my other Nation Roulette videos using the playlist link in the description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you then.